Hello. I haven't posted on here in a little bit, but I wanted to talk about um, life. Mostly discussing this quote that I read. I'm reading Psalm of the Wild. Actually, I already finished it. Psalm of the Wild, which is about like this character named Dex, and he meets a robot, or they meet a robot, and they have a whole like journey together, right? In this post-apocalyptic world, because there's robots and stuff. But part of the messaging in that passage, and I'll try to throw it up somewhere, hopefully on this screen, but was is living not just enough, right? Like when we think about living life and what we do on a day-to-day basis, like I think a lot of us feel like we have to do 100 tasks a day and like have 30, have followed up with every single friend and family member that we have, and um, be generating a ton of money out of the things that we're doing. And like, what if like just living is the purpose? Like, just being here is enough, right? Like, you setting your eyes on this world, on the greenery, on the beautiful blue sky, like, on the conversations that are happening all around you, like, is that enough? And I think I wanted to ask that question in general, is like, is that enough to you? And if it's not enough, I would love to know why. I think a lot of the times, at least for me, like being, feeling like what I'm doing is not enough is a reflection of me more than like my surroundings sometimes. Um, I think a lot of it comes from like, for me, like insecurity and like feeling like I've missed out on things, or that I'm not like good enough at something, right? But what is enough? We define, or I define my own enough. Um, and that just got me thinking. But outside of that, I'm also working on two different projects right now, which I just wanted a space to talk about them because I can get real lonely sometimes. I do talk about this stuff with my partner, which is extremely helpful, but I wanted to be able to also talk about it out in the internet, this thing right here, in case anybody else is like working on something, and if you are, would love to know what that is down below. But two things I'm working on. One is a project called lento, which is slow in Spanish, and that project to me is a kind of mission to slow down for myself, for my friends and family, for my community, for everybody. Starting with, I want my mission to be to help people slow down is a very big feat. um, and I've been working on this project probably now for about like 2 years, and kind of started off as a temporary brand, I guess, called Slowish, which consisted of me doing like a couple of pop-ups here in the city at my house, and then at a local yoga studio, which shout out to them for letting me post up at their at their front desk for 3 different pop-ups that we did there. And I think through that experience, learning a lot about myself in terms of like what I want this to look like, who is it for, which are still questions that like I think about daily. um, and for context, like all I was kind of offering in that very beginning stage was um, an eye in, or a peek into Cuban coffee, um, because Cuban coffee and just Hispanic culture is also very similar to European culture, where like slowing down is like the way to go. And so I started doing pop-ups where I was just giving samples of cafecitos, which are just espresso and sugar. That's it. And of course, I had big dreams for this, right? I wanted it to be this space where people could come, slow down, be around greenery, plants. There's like rugs on the floor. There's, different areas we could get coffee. It's not just one person serving coffee. There's like a couple of different areas so that like you can have an experience, and you can also have a slow experience too. So that kind of evolved into this other project, um, within lento as well that was focused on sustainability. I noticed as I was making coffee, and I make coffee, I have been for years now, there's so much waste that comes out of a cup of coffee, right? And if you think about it, you multiply that in terms of like every person you know that makes coffee, and then outside of that, every person in the world that has a coffee machine or a dripper or a drip machine, right? And on top of that, you have all the coffee shops and companies that offer coffee to their employees. Like there's coffee waste happening from start to finish in that process, right? And to think about a process that's starts off with a tree being planted, um, let's say in Panama, to then that being harvested and processed and roasted, to then that being in your cup as something that you're drinking. I feel like it's a waste, right? To just go ahead and throw out those grounds that you've used. So had this kind of idea to solve for that, by taking those grounds and transforming them into compost that can be used in plants. Um, I'd love to do a separate video about that, but that was a whole journey in itself last year, and I'm continuing to do that to figure out like the best way to process these grounds that are wet and can become moldy and all of that. And so kind of went through this whole kind of experience, where now I'm at this point where I have passion for Cuban coffee and sharing my Panamanian culture. I also want to make sure that we're not forgetting about the process that coffee goes through from plant and seed all the way through the moment that you're throwing out the ground, right? So I'm finding ways to like share that experience, share that story, um, in a way that's organic to me, and in a way that's not just me trying to make money, because it's not like, yes, it's extremely helpful, but that doesn't necessarily like complete my mission, right? So it's like, what can I do to complete my mission? And it's kind of like where I am today. I've decided to kind of lean a bit more back into making coffee, specifically just Cuban cafecitos and cafe con leche, just to start to build community. Also, to start to talk to people about like their coffee experiences and like what they're seeing. And that's kind of like one project that I'm working on. And then of course like there's the whole like processing of grounds and everything. So that's a whole thing. And my second project is more so focused on the tech side of the world. So I'm a product manager by day, and like a lot of my work nowadays has been surrounded with like AI. And so I have been working on this like program that could help folks that are in my shoes become more comfortable building with AI, and not just building, but also talking with AI fluency, and like how to be empathetic when you talk to AI and all those things. And of course, like as I'm building this, like I'm seeing like on Maven.com, there's competitors all over the place, which I don't know about you all, but like competitors are a little scary. They're also kind of motivating, right? You're kind of like, okay, you're doing this thing. There's obviously somebody who's interested, who's why you're building this course or this program, and you're bringing something to the table that like I can or can't, but I can probably bring that in a different way. So that's what I'm focusing on right now, is like how to bring this education to the people that need it the most, so that they can learn how to use AI in the best way that's suited for them. Also, learn how to actually use it, not just like talk to it. Those are two different things. And so, like, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out like how to work on that, and kind of make that something that's kind of fully blown its own thing, and that is a one-on-one experience that I'm doing as well with the students that's to sign up. It's not like a course that's like on demand or whatever. It's very personalized and like customized, and like that takes longer, and that's kind of like how I want to do it, right? Because I do really value human relationship and like connection and everything. So again, these are things that kind of go to my earlier comment on like, just, is it enough, right? I need to remind myself every day that like it is enough. Everything I'm doing is enough. I am enough in what I do. Um, Responding to what I can respond to in a day is enough. Talking to talking to or saying the things that I want to say in a day is enough. I don't have to do more. I can do more if I want to, but like nobody's watching me and saying like you haven't done enough today, right? And we can only really be the judge of that. And I think if you have like, security in yourself that like you're trying your best every day, I feel like you're on the right track. So there's just thoughts, videos, what I'm working on. I think these videos are gonna be more like this. Honestly, I tried doing vlogs, and I fear that I don't really like collecting videos and then like editing them and posting them. Also, my blocker currently is my computer is running out of space. So um, the more clips I film, I then have to bring them out to this thing and then make some edits, and then my memories like can't do much for you here, my guy. So we're coming back to the good old photo booth QuickTime mix here. But yeah, would love to know what you guys are working on. Do you feel like you are enough? Do you feel like life, just living, is enough? Let me know. LMK.